Hey guys, Ben here and welcome back to another video on Superman Lois Season 3. Today we're going to be doing my Episode 2 review / breakdown. This was a huge episode. We have a lot to talk about. It was a very emotional episode, but also a lot went on in terms of Onomatopoeia and Bruno Mannheim. So please be sure to stick with me throughout this entire video as I break down the whole episode bit by bit. So if you do go on to enjoy the video, please be sure to leave a like and a comment and subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any future DCTV videos later this year. Alright, let's go ahead and get right into this because episode 2 begins kind of where episode 1 ended, and that's a opening montage that features Lois Lane. It's a bunch of different shots in different locations, but you can tell there is something off with Lois. There's something on her mind. She's almost in a trance. And you get some various shots within the hospital that she visited last episode with John Henry Irons' sister. And so I guess various things were probably going through your mind at that time. But she's clearly found out something, and something has been bothering her, but she's been processing it by herself. So that's why she seems somewhat off to everyone around. And Clark and Chrissy notice this at the Smallville Gazette, but Clark doesn't push too hard because he knows that she's going to tell him when the time is right, no matter what it is. And so at the same time, Jordan asks what Sarah and Natalie are up to, and Sarah blows him off because they are planning to go to this party in Metropolis. It's going to be a big party with a bunch of cool kids in Metropolis who are rich, and it also turns out that Jonathan's girlfriend is going to be there, and so Jonathan and Jordan plan to go to the Metropolis party, and like everyone else is there. So it's Jordan, Jonathan, Sarah and Natalie, and Sarah's like this wing woman for Natalie. Natalie gets to meet this person who she like briefly saw in the past, and that's because she went to this other school, then she was pulled out and they moved to Smallville, and so they get to talking and it seems like everything is good between them. But at the end of the episode things go sideways because after Jordan meets Sarah at this party, Jordan and Sarah go and they play water pong and they basically shred these college bros. They're having good fun. Obviously they aren't taking it well, that being the college bros. That's just what I'm calling them. I don't know what to call them, but basically one of them calls Jordan a bitch, and it's the person that owns the house. Sarah snaps back and throws water in his face, and they storm out of there. And so they've had a good time. It ended in a good way, but obviously they didn't like who they were hanging out with. And in terms of Jonathan, obviously this is the new Jonathan. This is the ex-girlfriend that we heard of in the past, but I don't think we ever saw her. So this is the first time, and Jonathan goes back, but he's like, I have a girlfriend in Smallville and I can't do this, even though Jonathan's ex got the wrong idea. And she thought that was the reason that he actually came back to Metropolis and to visit her at this party, but that's not the case. He just wanted to be friends, and that is like a continual thing in this episode because that's what's happening with Jordan and Sarah, and things turn out for the best for them actually in this episode, so that's very good. Let's talk about the ex-mayor, because he is attacked by Onomatopoeia early on in the episode, who makes their first appearance in Smallville, which just proves there is no bounds to where this person will go in order to stop things from being uncovered, because that's literally their whole job. And so he kills the ex-mayor of Smallville, who has been a big part of season 1 and season 2, because Lana beat him in the election, and it seems he was in cahoots with Onomatopoeia, or at least with Bruno Mannheim, and so he's dead. This scene has some amazing visual effects. The particles float around him as he unleashes his powers on the mayor, and he is killed by a kind of shotgun-like bullets, but again, there is no bullets, like nothing is to be seen. So this is definitely a meta, and he is extremely powerful. The question is, how are they going to stop him? Well, we get more of Onomatopoeia later in the episode. We need to get to that in a bit because it's in regards to one of our main characters. And so literally at the same time whilst this is happening, we have Clark and Lois who are in Metropolis on journalism duty, and they say it's kind of fun to be back in our old stomping grounds, which I wonder, is that a setup for them potentially moving back to Metropolis? And considering this episode was very heavy on Metropolis, and we know we're going to get Bruno Mannheim, and I presume a lot of the episodes are going to be focused around going back to Metropolis and trying to stop Bruno because that's where he's set up. But Lois is still upset about Henry Miller getting powers and everything going on, so they're waiting for this judge that they're trying to cross-examine and get information out of. And so back in Smallville, the crime scene is active and the mayor is dead, well, the ex-mayor, and Lana shows up. Kyle is there on duty as a fireman, but also Chrissy shows up as a supporter. They don't really get into the awkwardness of that situation, but the crime scene is there, and it's at this point that Lana realizes, where is Sarah? She's been lying to me. And so she goes over to Natalie's house and meets with John Henry Irons, and this is where things get really interesting. But let's go back to Clark and Lois at this point in Metropolis, because something equally as interesting happens when they are pulled out the room after talking to the judge, when they mention anything to do with Atom Man having powers. And so the judge and everyone else in Metropolis is seemingly compromised. There is a huge conspiracy at hand, and Lois is definitely not going to give up. This is just like her perfect case. And so as they leave the building, Clark follows the goons. I don't know what to call them. I guess they're just Bruno Mannheim's henchmen. And so Lois stays behind to talk to the judge, who actually goes up to the top of the building and threatens to jump off. And it's at this point that she says to Lois she knew it was the day that she was going to die as soon as they started asking questions, and that's when those people came into the room. And so at the same point we have Superman, who is just arriving back to the area that they are located, and he's listening in, and he hears one of those henchmen say, "The judge won't be a problem, sir," and Lois Lane. But it's at this point that Bruno Mannheim somehow gets a video feed of Superman listening in, and so he knows everything, and it just kind of proves how powerful he is, that he can detect Superman, and he's even got cameras on him. And so he's pretty much like the eyes and ears of the entirety of Metropolis. And so Superman goes to Bruno Mannheim, faces off against him 1-to-1, and he says, "What do you want?" And Superman asks him about the head of Intergang and the rumors to do with him being the actual head, but he kind of just brushes that off, and also giving Henry Miller powers, the Atom Man. But things don't go in the way that Superman kind of hopes it will, because after asking this, he talks about how he's this hero in this part of Metropolis, in the suicide slums as they call it, because they needed a hero as no one else was listening to them. And so that's what Bruno Mannheim has become, and so he sees himself in a different light. Obviously what he's trying to do and the business that he conducts is extremely shady, and I'm pretty sure he knows that, but at the same time I feel like he comes with a mentality of, I just do what I have to do to get it done in order to help my people. And so it really begs the question, what is he trying to do with Henry Miller and giving him powers, having him subdued, bringing him back to life, and it ultimately failing? What was the real reason behind this? What are they trying to do? He is just a test subject. That is made clear by the end of the episode when we see Henry Miller just freaking out, and it's been over a day since he was brought back, so you know that they're going to try and give it another go and somehow get someone else in here. I'd presume they're going to give them powers too, and right now we don't know how they're giving people powers, and we're kind of just presuming, but I think it's fairly clear to presume at this point that yeah, they somehow have the ability to give people powers. Whether that's Onomatopoeia or Bruno Mannheim, we will have to wait and see. And so Lois begs the judge, who is on the roof of the courthouse, to just let her in and to listen to her, to not jump, because at this point Lois gets extremely personal, and it's at the same time that Clark overhears what's going on. So he leaves Bruno Mannheim, he goes to the courthouse, he's hovering in the distance as Lois reveals that she has cancer. And so Clark hears it, the look says everything on his face and Lois's face, but it really does get through to the judge, and it gets through to us because this is a shocking revelation. The fact that Lois, one of our main characters, has cancer and it's stage 3. It's bad, but we get a Clark and Lois hug after this, after she actually saves the judge, which just goes to show how powerful Lois can be. She convinces the judge not to go through and be threatened by Bruno, Mannheim and Onomatopoeia specifically, so she makes the choice because she listens to Lois. And so, like I said, I guess it's going through all our minds, how could this happen to Lois? Surely this can't be real. And so you're kind of thinking, okay, can Superman do anything with his Kryptonian genes? Can she become like half Kryptonian and that's how they get out of this? Well, I have no idea what's going to exactly go down, but I can tell you the ending scene of this episode is pure emotions. The music, the lack of dialogue as the news hits is unlike anything else I've ever felt from a CW show. I had a proper big lump in my throat, tears were nearly flowing. It really got to me, guys. It was the perfect ending of an episode, and I have to say, I think this might be one of the best Superman Lois episodes we've had so far. So yeah, it was really impactful. I can't believe what just was revealed. Obviously this is a sensitive subject, but I fully trust that Superman Lois handle it in a really good way, because by this point they've proven to us that they know what they're doing, and so we're just gonna have to trust them with this. But I seriously can't believe this is happening to Lois. It's a real thing, guys. Okay, let me know what your thoughts are in regards to that in the comments down below as well. Let's talk about the last couple of things in this episode, because we have this insane scene where Lana recalls the pride of Smallville. This is just a couple of words that were uttered by the ex-mayor when he actually called her on the phone early in the episode. And at that point, when he was saying something, I was like, this is surely important, but I couldn't exactly make out what he was trying to say. But Lana confirms he said something to do with the pride of Smallville. And so she remembers that the town seal in the office had the same thing on it. It says the pride of Smallville. And so that's the only place that she remembers it being seen or like actually said. And so Lana and John Henry go to the office. They find beneath the town seal a hidden envelope that is seemingly left by the ex-mayor as a backup plan in case he was ever killed, and he was in fact killed in this episode by a very ominous and scary onomatopoeia. And so John and Lana access the USB, but not before onomatopoeia shows up out of nowhere in the mayor's office in Smallville, taking the USB before they're able to fully download everything. And John sees him. John properly sees what onomatopoeia looks like and their powers, because his eyes were open looking towards the laptop when onomatopoeia literally destroyed it with like the flick of his finger or the flick of his mind. Again, it's not very certain as to how onomatopoeia's powers work as of right now, because it's different from the comics, but I really loved this scene. There was a whole lot going on, but you can see there's something else going on, and that is in fact that John Henry Irons isn't dead. And Bruno Mannheim questions onomatopoeia when he shows up later in the episode saying, but you killed him. And so there you have it. That is confirmed. Onomatopoeia has been around for a long time in the shadows in Metropolis, and I guess working all around the country. Superman hasn't been able to stop them. No one has been able to stop them. And so now they're presumably going to be targeting and trying to find out who this John Henry Irons is, because they are confused as to why this John Henry Irons is around, and they're probably going to try and finish the job because they think maybe he survived. And so John installs a new security system in Sarah and Lana's house after the attack, and quite frankly they're lucky that onomatopoeia didn't kill them. They're only like barely grazed by the glass and everything that was flying around in the office. And so I'm really curious as to what they're going to do with onomatopoeia and John Henry Irons, because there is that connection, and also the connection between Bruno Mannheim. So that pretty much does it for this video. I hope you guys liked this episode. It was a very emotional episode, as I said at the start of the video. Really got to me at the end, especially with Lois's huge reveal. Plus, it was a great episode in terms of the action and the mystery, because we have the mystery to do with what they're doing with the test subjects, but also Onomatopoeia showing up and covering up a bunch of different things, but also going around and killing people. So that pretty much does it for this video, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you did enjoy it, please be sure to leave a like and a comment. Also subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any videos. We are uploading daily right now, so don't miss out on anything. So for now, you can click on the top right corner of the screen to watch my latest video, and I'll catch you guys later. Goodbye.
I see red.